Hello everybody, welcome back. I've got another Suikoden 5 guide for you here. Actually, this one's just going to be, tips and tricks. Things that I learned along the way, and maybe some things that I kind of wish that I had known, earlier on. So let's go through those a bit. The first thing here that I'll bring up actually is about kind of characters. There's a lot of characters in the game where if you're not kind of on the ball, you can actually miss them. Murad here in my entourage is one of those characters. Murad is the doctor, and you'll see him throughout the game. There's a lot of points that you can interact with him in different towns. Basically, any opportunity that you want to ask him to join you. He'll refuse you, I think, 3 times, and then the 4th time he'll finally join. There's other characters like Killy that are kind of similar, where you have to do a couple of different conversations with him to get him to join. But I would definitely, refer more to a recruitment guide as far as getting everybody, or just watch my walkthrough. I recruited all 108 Stars of Destiny during that walkthrough, so definitely recommend that. The next thing I would say is, or the next important thing, is about Potch, really. You can really reduce the amount of time that you have to farm for Potch by doing a couple of things. Number one is always include Egbert in your entourage. Once you get him, he just passively generates more Potch via the Potch Finder skill. I don't remember if it's exactly like a 10% increase for every rank of Potch Finder, but it's probably that case, right? So like C would be plus 10%. I'm sorry, I always skip E and D for some reason. E should be 10%. D should be an additional 10. All the way up to, for Egbert, it's double S. I think in my entourage here I have Norma, and I believe eventually she gets double S. And also they stack. So definitely a good, and you get Egbert really early on. Norma you get a little bit later, probably like midway through the game, but she's pretty solid. It's interesting, Norma is also actually, in my opinion, a pretty good character to just kind of take along with you as well. Norma is one of the characters in the game that there's probably, I don't know, maybe 10 of them. Maybe there might be even more, but that get 3 rune slots, and so she ends up being really strong. Next up, let's actually talk about the runes. I probably could have just left the cursor on Norma, but in my opinion, the 3 best runes in the game are the Killer, the Power, and the Boost runes. Physical damage completely dominates in this game. In my opinion, it's not even really close. And so, that being said, I recommend setting up your characters as, more physical characters. And so somebody like Norma with, unfortunately you get the Killer runes really late in the game. I think you're looking at least, 75% of the way through. But Power and Boost runes, on the other hand, are obtained fairly early on. The problem with the Power rune is you do have there's a drawback. In that it really reduces your physical defense. But the reality is when you start stacking your characters up with those Power runes, you're just going to annihilate everything, in most times, and especially most random encounters, you'll be done in 1 turn. So I don't think that, the detriment is, or the drawback to those runes are bad enough where they become like not usable or something like that. But next up would be the boost runes. So the boost runes, you get a power boost for 3 turns, And then any battle that goes beyond 3 turns, any character that has these boost runes equipped drops down to 1 HP. Now, again, that sounds pretty scary, right? But at the end of the day, probably 99% of your battles aren't going to last that long. And so I don't find that drawback is bad enough either to kind of merit not using these. Killer runes are just amazing. They really increase your crit rate, and then also like 10% of the time they're just gonna straight out kill your enemy. So once those become available, those are fantastic. So yeah, that's why I think that these 3 are the best. Again, power. Yeah, I think you can come across the power runes first. You have to make them, right? They come from the Ulse enemies, and I think the boost runes might too. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, no, I'm sorry. Power runes I think come from the like the Peckles enemy is probably the easiest way to get these at the beginning of the game. They'll drop power pieces, and then you get 4 of them and put them together. Yeah, and there's a lot of like warthog type enemies that have power pieces. I think the boost pieces actually come from the Ulse enemies. Those are like they look like werewolves. And then killer runes you can farm, or you can just buy them from the store later. But yeah, so anyways, that's my opinion for, is really to just go with physical type characters. Next thing up, let's talk formation. I think that when we talk formation, there's one that stands out a lot, like beyond all others, and that's the circle formation. It seems like it's not that great because the formation skills, it gives you plus 10 physical defense and minus 10 attack. The real thing, or the thing that makes the circle formation stand out though, is when you use it in battle, and you can use this, you can use formation skills once every battle. It puts all the enemies off balance for at least a turn. So like the enemies go off balance, then all of your characters do an auto attack, which again also is another reason why physical based characters are so good, because when you use your formation attacks, everybody just does an automatic attack, right? And so if you just load up on like magicians or something, right, they're all going to do very, very little damage, right? Because that's just not what they're good at. Whereas if you've built your characters for physical damage, these skills are going to, just dominate. So, again, that's my opinion here on these. I'm not going to talk too much about, like, Crane Wing is pretty good as well, but circle formation just, I think, blows everything else out of the water, because not only does it put your enemies off balance, so it makes it so that, your first turn, the enemies don't do anything, and it works on bosses too, by the way. But also, sometimes that off balance status effect persists an additional turn. And so you get 2 free turns to just annihilate the enemies. So again, Circle, probably available. I think it's available somewhere around halfway through the game. But once you get this thing, it's amazing. Some of the other ones are, decent as well. I know a lot of them allow you to, like, at least one, probably maybe more than one, allow you to actually act first. So, that can be a great, way to do it as well. You can get the jump on the enemies, hopefully get them down before you, take any damage. So that's formation. Also, now that I think about it, I should talk actually a little bit about positions as well and character range. Circle, or I should say, okay, so let's start with the characters themselves. So like Gavaya and Miki's right here are both short range characters. That means that ideally you want to put them in the first row. The very, very top row there is the first row. Okay, the second one, the row that Miyaki's and Gavaya are actually in right now, that's row 2. The row that the hero and Lorelei are in here, that's row 3. And then the bottom row with Jean and Roy, that's row 4. So short range characters are, generally speaking, best and most accurate, and that's where it really comes in, is how accurate they are. in the first or second rows. Okay, the medium range characters are best in the second and third rows, and then long range characters, it doesn't matter, they can go anywhere. The catcher, or the thing is, I was heavy on medium range characters the entire game, and so for the circle formation here, there actually is four spots, to put medium range characters. Obviously, the two spots that Miki's and Gavaya are in, and then Hero and Lorelei. The thing is, though, at the end of the day, even your medium range characters can work in the back row. Sure, they might miss a little bit, but it's not that bad. One of the things that again, I wish I would have known or realized when I was playing earlier was that I was equipping a lot of my characters with the crazed rune, which seemed seemed very good when I read the description of the orb. Basically, it makes your characters berserk, and they just auto attack, and they'll do like twice the amount of damage. The problem is that berserk status, though, actually makes your characters less accurate. And so my problem that I encountered, again, and that was around midway through the game, was that I thought that it was my formation that was making my character so inaccurate, and it wasn't. It was those crazed runes. So again, that's another thing that I wish I would have kind of realized sooner. And I think that's, hopefully useful information for people. But, again, I definitely recommend, short range characters in role 1 or 2, medium 2 or 3, and then long range, wherever. But at the end of the day, it's not going to make or break. Like, you can afford to, throw like medium characters, for instance, sometimes in the back. And yeah, you'll be all right if you go with that. But all right, anyways, next up, let's actually talk special characters, or maybe I should say specialized characters. And what do I mean by that? I mean somebody like Roy. Okay, Roy has the thief ability, so it says swipe potch with each attack of enemy. Roy is another great way to rack up your potch. Raven is another character that has this ability. Unfortunately, one of the things that I ran across, and I don't think that this is much of a spoiler, but you've been warned. Roy leaves your party for a couple of times, and for pretty decent durations. And so Roy may not be the best person to do this with, but I gave him a bunch of my, I gave him my prosperity set. Here's unequip. Prosperity set. Every piece of this gear gives you 10% extra potch. When you complete the set, you double your potch. I don't actually have the completed set right here. I loaded an old save to do this, but this equipment really is good, and I definitely recommend keeping this on somebody really the whole game. I don't remember which piece you get first, but you get a couple early on, and then they're kind of sprinkled throughout the game at certain spots. And I think that this stuff will generate so much extra potch for you that I definitely find that it's worth maybe keeping it on somebody that also maybe isn't on the front line, and at risk of taking extra damage or something, because the reality is the prosperity equipment isn't that good, like from a defensive standpoint. So if you can throw this on somebody that's long range or somebody that's going to be in the back, that probably makes the most sense. But yeah, definitely recommend doing that as well. Other characters that are kind of, I would say, kind of specialized would be somebody like Norma, with the Potch Finder, or Bergen, because he's got treasure hunt. Now, when I say specialized, I mean like Frey. Frey is not. I would not consider a specialized character. I mean, he's stuck with the entire game, but both of his skills are you can swap both of them out, or mix and match. But some like a specialist like Roy, you can't swap Thief out. He will always have Thief equipped. That generally means that their combat capability is a little bit reduced, right? Because that, the thief isn't bringing you damage, whereas, my two skills here do. But I do still think that they're definitely worth using. Again, Roy specifically to, really help you generate even more potch. There's a couple of, aside from just, armor, spending money on armor and runes and whatever else, there's a couple of pieces of armor that you'll come across towards the, I don't know, probably like 75% of the way point where they're just godly. They're amazing, but they're extremely expensive. And so I think you'll be happy, if you use somebody like Roy and throw some, prosperity equipment on people. Maybe the prosperity equipment, actually honestly might not be that bad on somebody like Frey, because he's with you the whole time, so you don't ever have to worry about, having your equipment like I did during my walkthrough. I put it all on Roy, and then lo and behold, he's not usable for, gigantic portions of the game. So actually, probably I would recommend putting that on Frey. You're not worried about, him taking off on you and not getting the benefit from that equipment. So then just put Frey towards the back right, second or third row, and you should be set. But next up would be the treasure hunters. So Lorelei, Zweig, Killy, Bergen is one of the best, and then Phelan are both treasure hunters as well. Bergen gets a double S eventually, which really puts him up near the top. Babbage is also a entourage only type character that gets treasure hunt as well, and he gets an S rank. Unfortunately, Babbage is recruitable. I don't know, yeah, probably like 75% of the way through the game too, so that's a little unfortunate. But every rank of treasure hunt increases your chances of getting a drop by 1%. So again, C, you'll start at 1%, D will give you 2%, and so on and so forth. I'll be honest, I don't think that's as good as I thought. Certainly the first time that I played. A lot of the items, and what I mean by that is a lot of the items that are really good are actually going to come from mini bosses or like mini encounters. And those minis, generally speaking, always, if you're farming them at the right time anyway, they will always drop their items. And so treasure hunt actually doesn't do you any good there. And I would say, of these two abilities of treasure hunt and potch finder, I think potch finder is the more useful item. Though treasure hunt that's not to say that treasure hunt's not good. There are certain things like prosperity pieces that there's no good way to get those other than farming them and with treasure hunt. Also, treasure hunt, much like potch finder, stacks. So definitely, I think that's definitely worthwhile. Again, and specifically if you're looking for items like that prosperity rune, load up, before you go to farm them, load up on characters with treasure hunt. This also works in the entourage spot. So like Bergen right here is, he can use that. That's probably obvious because Babbage is an entourage only with treasure hunt. But yeah, that's my take on them. I should say, so I really like agility on most of the characters. My first time around, I went with a lot of technique on a lot of characters, but that was because I didn't realize that those crazed runes were making me, very inaccurate. I don't actually think that you really need technique on most characters. And agility is going to get you consecutive attacks. So you'll be able to really, really crank out even more damage. So yeah, definitely recommend that. Gavaya is also an interesting specialist with the freeze ability. He can stun enemies apparently. Now, I'll be honest though, I don't think in all the times I watched this guy, I don't think he ever stunned anybody. So I don't know why that's the case, or if I was just annihilating everything too quickly with everybody else. I'm not sure, but I never actually saw that happen, unfortunately. Also, next up, we got to talk Jean. This is the last time that I played. I did something very bizarre, and I'll be honest, I really liked it, which was to make Jean a tank. I gave her the defense skill, which you can see here. I think that she maxes out at a C rating for her defense, which is pretty bad. But the thing that made her so good was that, so I gave her the Firefly rune. The Firefly rune is I think very underrated, or at least my opinion of the Firefly rune has greatly increased this second playthrough that I did here. Because I've got so many characters loaded up with power runes and boost and so on and so forth, it is very, very nice to be able to direct all of an enemy's attack, or all of the enemy's attacks onto one character. Ideally, you don't want to have a Firefly on somebody that has a power orb, right? Because they're going to be drawing all the attacks and then taking a bunch of extra damage because that power orb, reduces your defense. But somebody like Jean here, it also synergized pretty well with the Charm rune. I noticed there was certain enemies that could not be charmed. So take that, I guess, for what it's worth. But a lot of the time, and especially it seemed like it worked it worked most frequently, I felt like, on monster enemies. Is that so? Sometimes she'll draw the attacks of the enemies, and then they just won't take any action at all because of that Charm rune. So again, I really liked this, and also the Wall rune makes it so that unfortunately Jean can't attack. She can only defend. But that's not so bad, right? Because when you defend, your defense, I guess is higher. And actually, I think I had Marina in a lot of my entourage for a lot of the game, and Marina was basically able to heal Jean back up to full every single round. So it really cut down on the amount of healing I had to do. I basically, anytime I would get like Mega Medicine or Medicine, I would just sell it off towards the end of the game because I just didn't need it. Murata also helps out with that, right? After every combat, or after every encounter, your characters will heal up by quite a bit. So again, Marina and Murad combined make an amazing team, right? So Marina heals a little bit every round, and then Murad heals a decent amount at the end of every encounter. So highly recommend that as well. The other great thing about making Jean your tank is that if you know that a boss is coming up and you're deep, you're down in a dungeon, Jean can swap her runes out, and the runes of anybody else as well. So she's extremely convenient. So it's like, okay, you can get all the way down to the bottom of a dungeon, and you know that the boss is going to use multi-target attacks, so the Firefly rune won't be doing you much good, right? And the Wall rune. So you can then swap in like a Rage rune, or a Thunder orb, or whatever else you want to do on Jean. So again, she can tank all the way through the dungeon, and then boom, when it gets to the boss, okay, swap in a Thunder orb, right, and annihilate the boss with her. So again, very, very nice, and she's convenient as well. There's other characters that are like that as well. Levi is your, or one of your, what is he? He's like your magic trainer. Same with Zerase. Levi you don't get until, pretty late in the game, but Zerase, you get her, I don't know, 25% of the way through. So she's really good. Zagai also, he's your combat trainer. Kind of same deal. You get him probably 25% of the way through the game. You can use George early on because George is in your party quite a bit to do kind of the same thing. But once you get Zagai, he never leaves, and so unlike George, and sorry, spoiler alert. And I should say, along with that, there are 3 characters who leave often, and that kind of is a drag. George is overpowered as heck. Basically, any time that George is available, he's going to be a complete beast because he's usually always quite a few levels over the rest of your party. Unfortunately, though, he does join and leave quite a lot. And there are gigantic portions of the game where George is not available. So that's really a problem for him. Sileads is the same thing. Again, sorry, spoilers here, but there's a point in the game where Sileads completely leaves. And so my first playthrough, I think I had one of the pieces of, or one of the prosperity pieces on her. And then she took off with it, and that was terrible, right? Their items don't get thrown into your inventory like some other games do, right? So you have to be really, really careful about that. And so I this time around I rarely use Sileads. I mean, sometimes she's forced into your party, but just keep in mind, eventually she will go away, and you will be very unhappy. Also, Sileads is kind of garbage because she's got a really, really bad rune equipped on her the whole time, and she only gets that one rune slot, so I don't think that she's worth using. Roy is probably the next up. I actually really like Roy, and I wish that he was available for more of the game once you recruit him, but you'll recruit him probably 50 to 60% of the way through the game, and then unfortunately, though, for big... quite a big portion of the game, he won't be available as well. So, as much as I like Roy, and he's also he's got a team up with the main character. As much as I like him, he kind of bails on you, or he's preoccupied for a big portion of the game. So, anyways, that should be about it. I'm just trying to think if there's anything I missed. Formation, skills, again, heavy agility is my recommendation. Runes, we already went over. Equipment, I suppose there's probably one thing that I really want to talk about. That's the Saint Cloak and the Corruption Shell. The Saint's Cloak, of the two items, in my opinion, the Saint's Cloak is better. Physical defense plus 130, magic defense plus 50. And this is especially good again, for your physical-based characters, right? You're going to have a lot of defense. And, for physical-based characters, that's all you need. The thing with the Saint's Cloak is, though, in order to equip it, you have to have at least 300 HP, and you can't have more than, or I think it's you can't have 30 or more kills. Meaning, you're not going to be able to get this on a lot of characters, especially for me, it's always Frey and Leon, right? Because those two end up in my party for a lot of the game, and they end up doing a lot of killing. And I don't think that it's worthwhile to run away from battles and stuff just to avoid kills on those characters. There's a couple of ways that you could probably play around, right? You could throw in a bunch of characters that you don't like for a lot of the game until these become available. And then once they become available, then you can swap in the characters that you actually like once you can, actually equip them. But it's a lot of monkeying around, and I don't know that it's really worth it. Miyake's, luckily she gets, or she joins really late in the game, and so it's most likely the case that you'll actually be able to equip this right away on her. Because she starts, I don't know, it was level 45 or something like that. And so yeah, I don't know. That's my take on that anyway. But the Corruption Shell, on the other hand, very similar, but if you notice, you're 10 less physical defense, and then instead of the 50 magic defense, you get 50 magic. Now, that's honestly not that bad on Frey, especially, towards the end of the game, because I actually, cast some spells here and there. So again, it's not the worst thing in the world, but the requirements for equipping this is 350 maximum health, and you have to have killed, I think it's 200 or more enemies. So you really have to put in... or you have to, do a lot of killing to get this thing. Now, it could probably be, and also I should say that these it doesn't matter what, some characters can only equip heavy armor, some characters can't equip heavy armor, so on and so forth. Corruption Shell and Saint's Cloak do not matter. They don't have any sort of equipment requirement like that. It's strictly just kills and HP, or I should say maximum HP. So again, this should be, it's easy to get on certain characters, harder to get on others. Now, obviously, these are oriented more towards your casters. It's kind of funny too. 350 HP can be a little bit tough to get on a lot of the casters in the game, like Zerase and others, which is honestly who these probably are more geared to, right? Because of the magic plus 50. There is one trick though that you can use, and that's to go into your skills and equip them with the stamina trait, because it increases your max HP. And again, it's also kind of, you can do this with the Saint's Cloak as well, right? If you don't have the 300 HP. But one of the things also that you can do is, you can equip your character with stamina, and then get the Corruption Shell equipped, and then you can take stamina back off, because once that item is equipped, it stays on you, and that works for the kills as well. So like Miyake's by now has murdered way more than 30 enemies, and so she wouldn't be able to re-equip a Saint's Cloak if I took it off, but once it's on her, she's got it equipped. So again, those are the only two pieces of equipment that that kind of behave in that way. But I definitely do think that they're, good. Or very good. Very, very good. Unite magic, I'm not going to talk that much about, because I think magic is garbage in this game, generally speaking. I will say, I suppose, at least there is one that I think is really good, and that's when Frey and Leon get their, again, sorry, spoilers here, but they get their runes, and once those two are back together, you can use United attacks with the Dawn rune and the Twilight rune, and they are phenomenal. I actually think that those Unite magics are the best in the game. That is about it. I don't think I really have anything else, but hopefully this guide was helpful, and as always, thanks for watching.